everybody, welcome back to the channel. How's everyone doing? I hope you're doing well. Something a little bit different for me. I don't normally do this kind of thing. I don't normally get involved in this kind of thing. But the good people over at the RADPACK, if you don't know who the RADPACK are, I'll put a link down below. Go and check the channel out. Go and give them a subscribe. They're definitely worth it. They're a good group of people. They talk about stuff that I'm into. They talk about stuff that come a little bit after me in the 90s. But it's all good, knowledgeable fun. So you really need to go and check out the channel. Like I said, I'll leave a description and a link down below, and go and hit them up. But what they are currently doing at the moment, they've put out a community challenge, and the community challenge was to pick 9 rad films that made us, that made me. So there were 9 films of my youth that sort of like shaped the way I look at film and the way I enjoy film. And I thought it was a nice little thing to do. It's good that it sort of breaks everything down, so you get to know content creators and people a little bit more. Because yeah, I can pull loads of this stuff off the shelves and talk about it, but 9 films that are a little bit more personal to me. Some of this stuff you might not see me talk about before, because it's never really arisen. So we'll crack it off. I've got a stack of 9 here. If you know me, some of this shit's going to be weird. Some of it's going to be really nerdy and a bit geeky. But these were films that I constantly went back to from being a young age up to sort of being, I would say, into my mid-teens, before I sort of got a grasp on other genres that I really love now. This was the mainstay of the stuff that I went back to. So this is in no particular order. I've not ranked these from favourite to the worst of the wrong. There's no order in any way, shape, or form. These are just 9 films that I've always loved, that I always went back to as a child. Okay, so we'll crack off with the first one. And the first one is the great Muppet Caper, if I can get it out. I've watched this film that many times. I can recite every line from it. It is still funny now. Even that it was the first time I've watched it, I still laugh out loud at this. For me, it's my favourite Muppet film. Didn't have this one on a VHS growing up. My grandparents had an old CD machine. If you're not familiar with CD was similar to Laserdisc, but it looked like a vinyl record. Weird device, weird system. You used to have to sort of flip it from side 1 to side 2 when it was done. It had like a cartridge that you loaded into the machine. And this was one of the films that my grandparents had. I watched the hell out of this every Saturday afternoon with lunch. I would put this on when I was at my grandparents' house. Loved it then. I've always loved it and still love it now, shamelessly. There's no shame with watching this film and absolutely enjoying the bones of it. It is a fantastic film. So that's that one. Next one was a big event thing for us in the UK, and I suppose everywhere really. But Batman '89, Michael Keaton Batman. I remember queuing up with a friend of mine, Stephen, at our local cinema when this came out, and we must have queued for 4 hours. Easy 4 hours. I have never seen a larger cinema queue in Wigan in all my life. It was unreal. And we queued and queued and queued, and when we got in to our screening, when we finally got to sit down and watch it, we were both blown away by it. We thought it was amazing. It was a long time after that since I acquired a VHS copy of it when it came out on VHS, because back in the day, stuff coming to VHS in the UK from a cinema to a home release in the UK took forever. And it was rare that I bought anything. This is one thing you'll find with the 9 titles. They were so expensive to buy when I was younger. You know what I mean? I'm a 77 kid. I was born in 77. So things like that were a lot more expensive. So it was very rare you picked up new releases. But this one was. again, watch the hell out of it. I can recite it from beginning to end. It's my favourite Batman film. Michael Keaton is my Batman. I don't think there's ever been a better Batman than Michael Keaton, and I don't think there's been any better Batman films than Batman or Batman Returns. That's just in my opinion. But so yeah, so that was number 8 was Batman. Number 9. Again, I never owned an official copy of this. I never saw this at cinema. I remember recording this off TV one Christmas, and that videotape stayed with me for years, and it is Krull. If you tune into my channel and you know me personally, you know I'm a big fantasy guy, and people shit on Krull for not being that good, and it isn't to a point, but it's got real charm to it, and I always loved it for it. And it's got that sort of fantasy element with a little bit of a sci-fi element thrown in there, and it feels a little bit like a Star Wars rip-off, sort of. I always enjoyed it. It's one I constantly went back to. It's one I still constantly go back to this day. I can't get enough of it. That's Krull. Another one that I came to a little bit later now, that once I'd sort of watched the family-friendly fantasy kind of stuff, and then I started buying films for myself, or I had the money to buy films for myself, or I started recording stuff off TV, this was a massive hit for me, and it's Highlander. Shit, I mean, again, another film that shouldn't work. You know what I mean? You've got a Scotsman portraying that he's a Spaniard. Christopher Lambert trying to do his best impersonation of a Scotsman. It shouldn't work on any level, but it does, and it's a fantastic film. I think the Kurgan, who's the bad guy in this, he's probably one of the best bad guys that's ever been in cinema, and I don't think he gets talked about enough. Everything about this film screamed out to me. The soundtrack from Queen is amazing. The over-the-topness of it, the fight scenes in it just screamed at me. And again, it's one I've watched the hell out of back in the day, and still watch it a lot now. That's Highlander. If you've been watching any of my other videos recently, this one's already cropped up, but again, I've got to show it. It's Battle Beyond the Stars. Again, I'm a 77s kid, I'm a Star Wars kid. Star Wars was huge for me. You'll find it bizarrely weird that it's not in this stack. But Star Wars started to get traction within sci-fi. People wanted to make sci-fi films because of Star Wars, and a hell of a lot of stuff came out, and a hell of a lot of stuff was absolute rubbish. But Battle Beyond the Stars came out, and I watched this. This was a rental. I first saw this on a rental VHS back in the day, and loved every minute of it. It's family friendly in a way. It's basically a sci-fi film that's sort of like a Magnificent Seven or a Seven Samurais ripoff. Again, Roger Corman produced, Roger Corman directed, I think. Again, shouldn't really work, but it really does. The sort of low budget sort of thing sort of works for it. It wasn't as low budget as some of Roger Corman's stuff, but it is still quite a low budget, but works extremely well. It flows nicely. The storyline is quite linear, but it works, and I always loved it for it. Plus, the main spaceship in it has got boobs, which I always found hilarious as a kid. I don't know why, but it was one of those things. So Battle Beyond the Stars, I've always loved that. Again, another fantasy film, and God thank Vinegar Syndrome for putting this one out, because before this I had just some kind of crappy Spanish bootleg that looked okay, but when Vinegar Syndrome put this out, I was jumping over fences Beastmaster. What more can I say? Again, never owned a copy of this. Recorded this off the TV when it was on TV in UK. Absolutely love the bones of it. It's a fantastic film. Again, it's ultra cheesy. Again, it shouldn't work, but it sort of does. You know what I mean? They couldn't afford a panther, so they painted a tiger black. You know what I mean? It's one of those kind of films. Again, always truly love this one. Always enjoyed it as a child. Still enjoy it now. It's a great little piece of sort of fancy adventure filming that's done on a bit of a budget, but again, it's been a bit more of a budget than a lot of the other stuff that I'm into. It's not Conan level, you know what I mean, but it's not down there with your Atos of this world. It's a really good film and a good watch, and I know loads of people have fond memories of Beastmaster. So like I said, thank God for Vinegar Syndrome for banging this one out. Again, another fantasy film now that some of you guys in the US may not be fully aware of. This is an ultra cheesy British film from 1980. And again, thanks for Network for putting this out on Blu-ray. It is Heartless Slayer. This is one of my favourite films of all time. Again, this was a recorded off TV for me back in the day. This is the cheesiest piece of nonsense you will ever watch, but this film here is what got me into sword and sorcery. It's what got me into fantasy and high fantasy films. This sort of opened up a portal into other films for me, and I thank it for it, and I love it for it. And it's a brilliant piece of British filming. It's absolute nonsense. The special effects are nonsense. It was a no-budget film, but it led the way for everything else for me, and for that I can't thank it enough. I still love it now. I watched this again. I watched this recently, a couple of weeks back. It gets a spin at least once, maybe twice a year, and has done since I was probably, I don't know, 9-10 years old. Absolutely love it. Bit different now, a couple of VHSs. You'll have heard me bang on about this one before. The next couple of titles, as I was getting older and sort of finding my feet on what I liked, and I was actually purchasing stuff for myself, so that was not relying on family buying it for me or my parents buying it for me. This was actually me physically going out to buy something. We had a local market on a Sunday here in Wigan, and there was a gentleman on there that sold ex-rental tapes, and he'd hundreds of tapes, and you could buy and swap with him. So he'd take tapes from you, you'd trade in, he'd give you so much money from, he'd knock it off the films that you wanted, and he always had 3 for £5 or 3 for £10, and I used to just raid that 3 for £5 constantly. I found so much trash through that 3 for £5, it was unreal, but some of those films have become some of my favourites, and this is one of them. Predator 2. You'll have heard me talk about this film loads in the past. I adore this film. I love Predator, but weirdly love Predator 2 more. I don't know if it was because it was set more in a built-up concrete jungle rather than an actual jungle, and it felt a bit more gritty and more over the top than the first. I'm not sure. I always liked the Predator more in this than what I did in Predator, and this again is another one that I can just knock the lines out to from start to end. You know what I mean? It's one that I had on constant replay. This would be a film that I would put on before I was going to school in the morning, and I'd have sort of like 10-15 minutes with it while I was getting ready for school. Then I'd turn it off, and the following morning I'd just hit play again and get another 10 or 15 minutes out of it, and I used to watch it like that on repeat constantly. So that's Predator 2. And the last one, again, similar kind of story. The gentleman that ran the video stall was a really nice guy. And one day I was looking for 3 for £5 and I could only find 2. And he said, have you ever seen this? And I said, no. And it is Creepers. And he said, if you're getting into horror, you need to check out Creepers. And I was like intrigued by this cover and by the font and everything. I mean, this colours, I don't know if it's popping on there or not, but it's bright purple with a red font on it. And I went, yeah, okay, I'll take it. We'll give it a go. And if I don't like it, I'll bring it back next week and trade it for something else. And I put it in that evening when I was at home. Put it on. Now, I was a huge metal kid. I was big into the British metal scene. Still am sort of in a way, but when I was younger, I was massively into it. And I put this on and, oh my God, Iron Maiden soundtrack. And then Motorhead. And I was like, boom, done, sold. Love the film. I know this is the shorter cut. You know what I mean? This is only 81 minutes long. I think it is the Creepers cut. Obviously known as Phenomena everywhere else. But I still thank that gentleman to this day for putting me onto this particular film, for opening my eyes to sort of Italian films, to Italian horror, to Italian exploitation. I think without this film I would have never have branched out and looked at other stuff like that. I would have just kept pretty mainstream. So yeah, Creepers, again, I love this, it's great. I own the Arrow video version behind me with all 3 cuts on. And again, this is another one I can pop in and have loads of fun with it constantly. So yeah, so there's my 9. That sort of like sums me up briefly of where sort of my love of film was taking me from a younger age into sort of my sort of mid to late teens. And I'd still go back to all this stuff today. I go back to it now on a regular basis. I still love it. I've grown up with it. It's dear to my heart. And yeah, there's my 9. So again, everybody, thank you very, very much for tuning into this video. Again, go and check out the guys over at the RADPACK. I'll leave links down below. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. I'll see you all again soon. Bye bye.